Hi Virgo, this is your week ahead astrology forecast from Astrology Motivation by Born Without Boundaries. My name is Michelle, and in this video I am going to go over the major planetary aspects and transits as they impact Virgo's natal suns for this week. And this week covers April 7th through April 13th. If you want to know what I'm reading, it's a book that I have all my notes on because I need that. What we're going to do is we're going to start really broad, and we're going to go over the major transits that are going to happen between April 7th and April 13th as they impact everybody. And then we're going to whittle it down to how they impact all Virgos. And then we're going to whittle it down to specifics, how they're going to impact your natal suns. Now, I don't know where your natal suns are located, and if you want to, you can go get a free natal report anywhere. There's so many websites that do it for free. All you have to do is search it. It's easy. You need your birth date, your birth time, and your birthplace, and then they'll pop out a free natal chart for you, and you'll see that your sun is located on a specific degree within the zodiac wheel, within the 30-degree section that Virgo occupies. So if your natal sun is located somewhere between 0 and 9 degrees, you're a Virgo 1 because your natal sun is located in decan 1. A decan is a group of 10 degrees. And so each zodiac sign has 3 of them. If your natal sun is located between 10 and 19 degrees, then you are located in decan 2 and you are a Virgo 2. And if your natal sun is located somewhere between 20 and 29 degrees, you are a Virgo 3 because your natal sun is located somewhere in decan 3. So, let's start really broad. Between April 7th and April 13th, the only major transit that's happening is Venus. Venus is moving from Taurus into Gemini, and this will happen on April 11th. So what does that mean? I believe that's Tuesday. Yeah. So what does that mean? Well, Venus is at home in Taurus, and she's really cozy, comfy. She's extremely sensual and extremely almost oriented toward long-term relationships, the establishment of a long-term relationship, the coziness, the love, the sensuality, the sexuality. She's very, very sexual in Taurus. But when she moves into Gemini, it's really not about sexuality. It's more about friendship. And so as Venus goes into Gemini, if you're single, I would really just focus on dating. If you're in a long-term relationship, I would focus on the friendship aspect, nurturing the friendship and fun aspect of your current relationship. That's what I would focus on, because that's what Venus in Gemini is all about. She's about learning. She's about understanding. She's about listening. She's about talking. She's about building up those friendship aspects of relationships. And if you like, Venus in Gemini is not a great time for romantic relationships, and the truth is, if you are not in one already, it's more a great time for dating and seeing what's out there and enjoying the experience of other people, right? Of talking to them, listening to them. If you are in a long-term relationship, this is when you'll really appreciate long conversations with your significant other, listening to their mind, learning with each other or through each other. All of those things are great ways to bond while Venus is in Gemini. Words matter now. Words are sensuality because she is stimulated through intellect. So what you say, be particularly careful about how you speak to your spouse or how you speak to your significant other or how you speak to the people that you're dating. Poetry is essential now. It's very important. Poetry, intellect, any kind of books you're reading, sharing those kind of things. Speaking eloquently is exceptionally sexy right now. It's about stimulating the brain more than it is stimulating the nether regions or the rest of the body. Just an FYI. In terms of finances, Venus in Gemini is could be a little flighty, so it's definitely good to check or recheck your finances, balance that checkbook, pay attention to the details, because that is a great way to use Venus in Gemini. Venus in Gemini is very detail oriented, so when it comes to finances, definitely pay attention to the details and watch how you spend. FYI. So How does that impact each of you? We're going to get into the decans and how that impacts each of you. But before then, let's talk about Mercury. Because Mercury is your ruling dignitary, and it's important for you guys to know where your ruling dignitary is, because it sort of frames just how you're functioning. It will always impact you. It will impact your everyday. So Mercury is in Taurus, and it will stay in Taurus for quite some time, actually. Mercury will leave Taurus after the Sun leaves Taurus, and the Sun isn't even in Taurus yet, because Mercury has a retrograde that's coming up on April 21st, and it goes through May, and its shadow period will last through May 15th, or a little past May 15th. I don't know. I think the retrograde ends May 15th, and the shadow period will go a week after that. So we're talking about that Mercury and Taurus impact right up through the end of May. So Mercury is going to be in Taurus for a while. The retrograde is elongating that, because it usually doesn't stay in one side for like more than 3 weeks. So it will start to slow down, and it's already begun. I think definitely by the 10th or 11th of this week, you'll start to see Mercury retrograde symptoms popping up, because it's going to start its shadow period. It's going to start its retrograde slowing down. So what happens then? What happens this week? Well, Mercury is in Taurus, and that's already slowing down. So if your mind has started to be focused more on the practical, the pragmatic, what makes sense, it's best to use Mercury in Taurus to take care of things, to upkeep things, to balance that checkbook. If your mind is focused a lot on finances, it's because Mercury is in Taurus. Traditional communication is important. So long form communications, speaking respectfully to people, yes sir, yes ma'am, these are highly effective when Mercury is in Taurus. As well, more traditional written communications, which does include email at this point, because email is way more traditional than all the texting and tapping and DMing we do. But definitely more long form communications are more effective right now, that have sort of robust I would say details or offerings within them. Mercury in Taurus is very sensual. So Taurus is very sensual energy. So it likes to describe flavors. It likes to describe feelings, not so much about emotions, but how, like touch, like sensations. It likes to describe them like this is very soft, or this is very decadent, or this piece of chocolate cake is very rich and silky, or your skin is so silky and it just gives me tingles. Like those kind of sensual descriptions are very, very important and very, very effective when Mercury is in Taurus. FYI. So if you guys have sort of slowed down a little bit, or your mind is now on your money, right? All of those things is because Mercury is in Taurus, and things will slow down just naturally. Mercury in Taurus doesn't move as fast as Mercury in Aries. So your brain is not going to be moving fast. It's going to fixate and want to stay on things a little bit longer to make sure that it's got all four sides of it completely mapped out. FYI. And then the retrograde is going to slow you down even more, and that's coming up, and you guys, especially since you're ruled by Mercury, will start to feel those effects. Some of you might be feeling them already, but definitely by the 10th or 11th, certainly by the end of this week, which is the 13th. FYI. So let's get into what is impacting Mercury. In the beginning of this week, Mercury is going to be conjunct the North Node, which puts your mind on the future, investing for the future, purchases for the future, like what do I need? Do I need to take care of this car? Do I need to get a new car? Do we need to do renovations? All of those things your mind would be focused on, because Mercury is going to be conjunct the North Node for the first couple of days of this week. It's also, by the 14th, is going to be conjunct Uranus. So on the 14th, which is at the end of this week, Mercury is conjuncting Uranus. This is an especially bright time, like especially thinking way outside the box, and the thoughts that you think or the curiosities that you have will surprise you. 100%. It's a really interesting and brilliant time that you should enjoy, but things will surprise you. And let yourself be curious during this time, because Uranus likes to rebel. Uranus likes to do things that are different. So if you don't normally think of these things, or you're not normally interested in these things, or normally interested in talking to these people, you will be around the 13th of this week when Mercury is in conjunction. So that's like the 12th, 13th, 14th, that period of time when it's in tight conjunction with Uranus. Your mind will surprise you. And words that come out of your mouth may surprise you too. They may surprise other people as well. And then on the 11th, so toward the end of this week, Mercury is going to be sextile to Mars, which is also really productive energy, because you'll be able to think fast, you'll be able to take action with your words. This is a great time to write that proposal or send that email that's important. You'll be very, very forward, and it will open doors for you. There's a lot of opportunity to be able to handle what you're saying, handle your mind, and be able to focus it in forward motion. Your mind could also be around that time, around the 11th, a lot on your physical body, your physical self. Learning or educating yourself about your physical self, and getting into how can I be more physical, learning how can I be more physical. If you were learning to get into a new workout routine, that's a great time to do it. So for those of you who are born in Virgo 1, so that is if your natal sun is between 0 and 9 degrees Virgo, which usually means August Virgos. It's pretty much then. Your natal sun is in opposition to Saturn, especially if you're born at the very, very beginnings, because Saturn is at 3 degrees Pisces, and so your natal suns are going to be in opposition to Saturn. This is a long-term aspect. It's not going to go away this week. It'll be affecting you for the rest of this year. And so what does that mean? There's conflict, or there's constant tension between you and authority figures. So if rules and laws rub you the wrong way, if authority figures, including your parents, rub you the wrong way, or there just seems to be always something that they need, always something that they want right now, if you're not paying as much attention to the rules, or you don't agree with them the way that you normally do, if everything seems to be a contract, read those contracts over, have somebody else read them. They will frustrate you and annoy you, or people will continue to throw them up to you, all your obligations, your promises, like for the next year, because Saturn is going to be in opposition to your natal suns for the next year. It won't move until February of 2024, really, so it'll stop affecting most of you. So just be aware of that. It's already been impacting you. This isn't really a new impact. It's been for quite a few weeks at this point, so understand that, and understand that that is a long-term aspect. Your natal suns this week are sextile to Mars. Now Mars, that will be for another week and a half. That sextile will last. And natal sun sextile Mars, this is very physical. This is very active. This is very proactive. This is very forward. So if you are especially forward, especially physical, you will have a lot of stamina. You will have a lot of coordination with your body. This is a great time to get into your body and use up that energy. It's also being very forward charismatically. It could be a very sexual time for you as well, because Mars is all about virility. So if you're kind of extra stimulated at this point, it's because your natal sun is sextile to Mars. That'll be for the next week and a half that it's impacting all of you. And then we have a square to Venus. Now, this really starts, you'll start to feel this by the 9th of this week, and I believe that that's Sunday. So around that time, a square to Venus means that there could be just conflicts with how you feel about your looks, conflicts with how you just self-esteem conflicts, it'll feel like questioning how much somebody cares about you, or feeling that there isn't as much attention in your relationship. It may be just a feeling because of this aspect, and this aspect will only last for about a week. It's not going to last long, but it will be, it could bring up feelings of inadequacy, especially personal on your part, or feelings of tension and frustration when it comes to your partner. Just note that it's a square, and squares happen to challenge you to see and work through these frustrations so that you can get on the other side of it, which could be a much deeper understanding of your personal beauty or your attractiveness or your spouse or your significant other. This is not the best time for you guys to explore new romance or new relationships. If you're just dating, 10 to 1, most people will frustrate you at this time. It's just how it is. I think mostly it's really going to be frustrating for people with long-term commitments, right? It's just something that you have to live with each other, right? But if you are just starting out in the dating game, or if you've been dating, I would not be surprised if there weren't more conflicts, more hiccups, people not texting back on time, you thinking it's because somebody's not attracted to you, those kind of things happening to you this week. Also, check that banking account. Try not to overspend. A lot of times with Venus square the natal sun, you could try to overspend to overcompensate. It's like sort of retail therapy energy, and it doesn't really work, and it could put a chink in your checkbook, FYI. And then your natal suns are trine to the North Node and trine to Mercury, which is your ruling dignitary, by up through Tuesday, which is the 11th. And then Mercury will slip a little bit too far past you guys, though those of you who are born at the edge, more around the 8th or 9th degree of Virgo, will still feel that trine to Mercury. Trine to Mercury is fluency in communication, fluency in thought. Your brain will be working. This is a great time to escape into a book, especially if you're having problems with your relationships. Reading, learning. It is a great time to take tests. It is a great time to give presentations, though your self-esteem in terms of your looks may be a little compromised because of that square to Venus. And when it comes to sharing intellect and sharing your knowledge, this is a great way to connect to what your mind can do, right? So there's fluency there, and it is a good time to have conversations with people. So they will be effective, especially if you're feeling insecure. It's a great way to be able to communicate and work that out through a talk, through communication. And since your natal sun is also, now that is an aspect that will change within this week, but the trine to the North Node will not. That trine to the North Node will last all the way through July. So don't be surprised if your mind is on the future, if you are future focused, if you are looking toward challenging yourself and where am I going next, and maturing almost. That's what's happening to you, and it will be impacting you now through the middle of July, FYI. If you are in Virgo 2, so if you are born between, if your natal sun falls between 10 degrees and 19 degrees Virgo, you are Virgo 2, and your natal suns are going to be trine to Mercury after the 11th, so by the end of this week. And those of you who are in Virgo 2 will also experience and be trine to the conjunction between Mercury and Uranus. So that's really special. That will happen around the 13th of this week. It's really going to be like mind-blowing. It's like feeling comfortable with weird things, being curious about stuff you were never curious about before, having weird conversations that you never expected, but they'll fascinate you. And it'll also help you sort of balance yourself out and understand yourself a lot better. Just kind of crazy ideas could be popping up in your mind. This is but it's trine, so you'll like it, you'll enjoy it, you'll feel at ease with it. In fact, it could help you solve some things that you were having problems with, and you were having problems with them because you weren't thinking outside of the box. But Mercury conjunct Uranus is definitely thinking outside of the box. It's pushing you outside of your routine, and it's probably just what you needed to fix those issues that you were continuously struggling with, that were just hanging on, right? This will kick you outside the box and help you really solve those difficult to understand issues. Your natal sun is also quincunx to Chiron. This is frustrating, so there could be a lot of frustration when it comes to long-term pain, long-term suffering, especially maybe physical long-term pain or suffering, it's not going to be it's not going to stop you, but it's going to be constant frustration, maybe not understanding what's going on, or frustration with, if it's emotional suffering, it just seems to be always niggling you or nagging you. This is a long-term aspect, and it has been impacting you for a while now, and it will continue. I think honestly, Chiron is going to be in the second decan of Aries, I think well into next year, so it doesn't move fast. So this is why, and it's challenging you. It's challenging you to be able to modulate your own pain, be able to understand yourself, be able to confront the pain, learn from it. That's what Chiron wants you to do. It's like School of Hard Knocks, and it will fade away over the next year, but it is asking you to not ignore it and to learn from it. You won't necessarily be able to fix it, but you will learn about yourself and how to be patient, maybe how to be more sympathetic to others, because that's what Chiron really tries to teach, is sympathy and empathy for others by humbling you. And so that's what's going on. And then we also have, for right now, up through the 10th, which is I think Monday of this coming week, there's also a quincunx to the sun. So the sun is conjunct Chiron right now, and so even though you may not have been feeling that Chiron quincunx so much, with the sun there, it's magnifying that, and it is bringing it up and bringing it front and center. So it's going to be a little bit more intense this week as the sun transits over Chiron, and you will get some easement after this week, after the sun has moved on. Just an FYI, it just may get a little bit more intense, because right now your natal sun is quincunx to the sun conjunct Chiron, and not just Chiron, FYI. So there is some frustration maybe in what you want to do, maybe in your mobility, maybe you're not feeling as good, or especially in your body, because Chiron in Aries is very physical, could be very physical suffering that is set to humble you, but with the sun there, it's just going to really put it in your face and make your ego confront your ego, kind of thing. And so just a little extra for you to have to work with this week, but that will pass after the sun passes on, and it won't stay that long. Virgo 3s. Okay, so you guys, your natal sun long-term aspect is in opposition to Neptune. Opposition to Neptune is there's always confrontation with faith, struggling with what you believe, struggling to have faith, struggling with dealing with things that you can't prove, always struggling with it, right? Also struggling maybe with distraction when you're normally not distractible, but you have been. And you have been for a couple of years, and you will be for a couple more, because Neptune moves very, very slow. So it is an ongoing opposition that will challenge you, challenge your focus, and challenge your faith. And you could be dreaming a lot more, which actually could be good if you use it to inspire creativity in yourself. It's a way to not get distracted by what's distracting you. A way to take what's distracting you and put it to practical use by allowing the creativity, by sort of recycling the distraction into creativity and funneling it into something productive. So don't fight it, focus it is better. Yeah. You could also be having a lot of issues with people who are distracted, or people you can't focus. But in reality, it's just that they think of the world in a different way than you, a way that's hard for you to understand. That's really what's going on. Your natal suns are quincunx to Jupiter. Jupiter moves pretty fast, but this will be for a couple of weeks. Quincunx to Jupiter is kind of getting ahead of yourself, wanting to expand or grow quicker than you're ready to, or faster than other people are ready to. This is something that will eventually pass over the next couple of weeks, but it is a little bit more of a longer term aspect. So slowing your roll will be a little bit more difficult for you right now. You can do it, especially if you're aware of it, FYI. Your natal suns by the 12th, or by the end of this week, by the 11th, 12th, are going to be trine to Venus. So when it comes to your romantic relationships and finance, you will feel a harmony. You will feel a harmony for the next week and a half. There will be a sense of sensuality and happiness with how you look, and happiness with the aesthetics of your home, and appreciative, or being attracted to the person that you're with, or the people that you want to be attracted to, feeling like they're attracted to you and you're attracted to them. There's no clashes there. Balancing out the checkbook easily this week and a half. This is good stuff to do. And then at the very end of this week, if you guys are at the very end of Virgo, so if you're on the Virgo Libra cusp, a long-term aspect for you guys to be aware of is that you are trine to Pluto. So what does that mean? That means that you are able to take in stride the extreme changes that are happening to you, or the extreme changes that are going to be happening globally to the world will somehow balance things out for you, and you'll find them helpful. So over the next, especially year and a half, as Pluto settles into Aquarius, because it'll retrograde twice over the next year and a half, so it's not really settled into Aquarius yet. But as Pluto settles into Aquarius, you will find a harmony with its destruction, with what it's ending, with what it's finishing off. It will actually help to balance out your life a little bit more in an unexpected way. FYI. I love you guys so much. I hope this has helped you understand the astrology for the week. Definitely check out your week ahead Born Without Boundaries tarot card reading, which you can go watch right now. Remember to subscribe to this channel, because if you are a subscriber, you can also join in our astrology live chats that we have over here on Mondays and sometimes on Fridays today. So if you're subscribed, you can hop on, and I'd love to hear your voice. Please do check out your oh my God, I'm losing my words. Please check out your Virgo week ahead tarot card reading over on Born Without Boundaries Tarot. I love you guys, and I will see you next week.